Let me invite your attention to 2 Samuel chapter 19. You have the Bibles or whatever instruments, the phone, the iPads, or whatever. Turn to 2 Samuel chapter 19. You haven't say, I got it.
I got it.
Let's begin reading the first verse and a few of the following verses. These words are recorded. And it was told Joab, behold, the king weepeth and mourneth for Absalom. And the victory that day was turned into mourning unto all the people. For the people heard say that day how the king was grieved for his son. And the people got them by stealth that day into the city, as people being ashamed, still away when they flee in battle. But the king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son. And Joab came into the house to the king and said, Thou hast shamed this day the faces of all thy servants, which this day have saved thy life, and the lives of thy sons, and of thy daughters, and the lives of thy wives, and the lives of thy concubines, in that thou lovest thine enemies, and hatest thy friends. Thou hast declared this day that thou regardest neither princes nor servants. For this day I perceive that if Absalom had lived, and all we had died this day, then it had pleased thee well. Now therefore arise, go forth and speak comfortably unto thy servants. For I swear by the Lord, if thou goest not forth, there will not tarry one with thee this night, and that will be worse unto thee than all the evil that befell thee from thy youth until now. Then the king arose and sat in the gate, and they told unto all the people, saying, Behold, the king doth sit in the gate. And all the people came before the king, for Israel had fled every man to his tent. And all the people were at strife throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, The king saved us out of the hand of our enemies, and he delivered us out of the hand of the Philistines. And now he is fled out of the land by Absalom. Finally, verse 10, And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, is dead in battle. Now, therefore, why speak ye not a word of bringing the king back? Amen. May the Lord bless his holy word. I want to simply talk to you for a few minutes about how to encourage others. Let me hear you say that with me. How to encourage others. God bless you, and I solicit your prayers. King David is faced with a bittersweet victory. His son Absalom turned against him, raised up an army to overthrow his father. And in battle against David's forces, he met a violent death. In the previous chapter, David cries out in anguish in verse 33, "Oh, my son Absalom, if only I could have died instead of you." David's words of mourning ranks among the saddest, most heart-wrenching words ever spoken. The death of Absalom was the death of David's hopes. In David's mind, it was the loss of his future. He could not imagine a future apart from his son. He could not see ahead to his descendants, which would have a messianic culmination in Jesus. We see David in two roles here. We see him as king and father. But in this moment, we see him primarily as a grief-stricken father. David gives himself to his grief, absorbed and isolated in his loss. He holds nothing back. He's not thinking of his role as king of Israel. David was in the toughest, the most agonizing of situations. He was needing comfort, yet also in the position of having to encourage others. His army was beginning to question their victory. Morale should have been high, but seeing their king in tears made things difficult for his troops. They needed David to stand before them and to reassure them and to praise their victory. When parents lose a child, both need comfort. And both are often unable to give comfort. You know, it's hard to lean on someone for support when that person is in just as much need as you are. Y'all will talk to me. David's grief is interrupted by his commanding general Joab, who unceremoniously jerks David back into being king. This is not how to do grief counseling, y'all. Joab is unfeeling, businesslike, and abrupt like some people I know. As he is unconcerned for David's loss, he invades David's sorrow and scolds him to make a public appearance. Joab is right, but in the wrong way. I talked about that a few Sundays ago. There's a way to do wrong in the right way, or right in the wrong way. Joab takes the reins of responsibility to push David back into functioning as king. In Joab's mind, there's no time for the luxury of remorse. The army needs its leader. David has put down Absalom's rebellion, but has not yet recovered his kingdom. I can somewhat identify with David. As pastor and pastors, we are expected to keep the troops rallied and ready for battle of spiritual warfare. The people look to the pastor to improve church morale. Part of the pastor's job is to look for indicators of poor morale, which could negatively impact church effectiveness. Through prayer, worship, and ministry presence, the pastor is expected to raise the spirits of the people, even when you don't feel like it. Can I get a witness? You may, I hope, agree with my assessment of David. But I want you to know that One scholar's commentary on this passage states that David's grief was inordinate, i.e. excessive and inappropriate, because of his duties and his unworthy son. The commentator claims that this was no time for David to give in to private sorrow. His conduct displeased the Lord. Joab, who personally killed Absalom, is credited for getting David back on track. Brothers and sisters, please mark my words. We have to guard against doing the right thing for the wrong reasons and the wrong way. I don't agree that David's grief was inordinate. I would not wish to have Joab or the author of the commentary I referred to around to comfort me when I'm bereaved, when I'm down to my lowest point. I don't expect people like Joab and the commentator to lift me up. Joab joins the rank of Job's so-called friends, who you recall turned on Job rather than comfort him in his time of suffering. It was appropriate for David to need encouragement, just as it was necessary for him to offer encouragement to his army. He then needed to restore peace and unify the nation. Did David's troops really think he disapproved of that victory? I think anyone with any ounce of sensitivity would realize David's mixed feelings. The rebellion was crushed, but at an awful cost. You know, warfare is waged when all other alternatives have been exhausted. David would have sought reconciliation through a negotiated peace, but Absalom only wanted to overthrow David's government. David prevailed, but not in the manner in which he preferred. There's no hope left for reconciliation. Now, at Joab's insistence, David is prodded into action. I need y'all to get this. This man has just lost his son. Amen. And he tries to take a moment to grieve his son, but here come his general Joab saying, man, your troops need you. He's in a bittersweet situation. Are y'all following me? Amen. Every now and then, all of us need some time to grieve. When I'm grieving, I don't want to think about what the church needs right now, or what the needs are, what we need to fix and redo. And no, when I'm grieving, I need some space, some time to grieve. Can I get a witness? He needed time. So David troops. Did they really disapprove of his victory? Are y'all gonna pray with me? The author of the book of Hebrews states that a major reason to attend church is for encouragement. We need one another, and we come here to bear one another's burdens. Can I get a witness? For some church, it is an impersonal place. Some people prefer to sit alone and want to be left alone. The Catholic Church instituted what's called the passing of the peace in the Mass. A few moments to greet one another. Dolores Duran, Catholic author, remarked in a conference that some Catholics would enjoy having a passing of the peace section and a non-passing of the peace section. It's kind of like smoking and non-smoking, although some people resist encouragement. It is sometimes something we all need. Something we all need. It's been voiced that more people have been brought into the church by the kindness of real Christian love than by all of the theological arguments in the world, according to William Barclay. Paul Simon wrote a rather depressing song entitled I'm a Rock, I'm an Island. He was attempting to claim that he didn't need nobody. I touch no one and no one touches me. People may try to live in isolation, but I think deep down inside, we all need others to console us and assure us during times of distress. Because a rock feels no pain. Island never cries. But we all sometimes feel pain, and we all shed tears, no matter how many defenses we put up. That time we all need to cry out for consolation. At such times we may find God calling us to seek out others and to seek a deeper level of prayer. A young boy was on his way to church in Chicago. And on his way, someone asked him where was he going. And he gave the name of the church, which surprised the stranger. The stranger said, that's a long walk. Why would you go so far to attend church? And the boy replied, because people love you there. You see, brothers and sisters, it's not enough to have the right theology. We need to be the right people. We must speak the truth in love. People do not expect from the church a constant stream of profound statements. They expect love, concern, and caring. That's right. All right. I think you got it. I can sit down. Give me another couple minutes. Come on. You know, some churches are marked by conflict. They spend all of their energy defending their doctrine and attacking other people. And all the while, people are hurting, needing someone to care about them. You know, being right ain't enough. Excuse me, my grandma, but I wanted to say that being right is not enough. I heard somebody say the other day, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Write that down. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Come on, y'all, say amen right there. David was in pain, and all Joab does is hurt him some more. Joab reminds me of some insensitive people I've known through the years. People need to be cared for and treated as people and not as numbers and not as a label. We must treat the people's problems and not treat the people as problems. Talk to me if you can. People have legitimate needs, y'all, and they have legitimate hurts, as David did in the text. And I close by asking you this question. Are you discouraged today? Have mercy. Do you know someone who's discouraged? Listen, discouraged people don't need answers. They need compassion. They need a warm embrace and a listening ear. They need pity. We've taken this good word and turned it into a pejorative, but let me read to you the dictionary definition of pity. Sympathetic grief or sorrow incited by the suffering or misfortune of others. Often leading one to give aid or to show mercy and compassion. Oh yeah. Can anybody tell me by that definition what's wrong with showing a little pity? And brothers and sisters, never apologize for needing pity. However, apologize if your heart is so hard that you can't offer pity. All Joab can say to David is, in effect, your son is dead, get over it. Says your son is dead. I'm getting ready to close. Says get over it. I agree that David's army needed encouragement, but so did he. I shared this with you once before when a member stopped at my office one day and poured her heart out to me for about an hour. And I said very little. I just a few amen along the way. And after she was through, she got up and said, thank you, Pastor. You don't know how much you helped me. And she was right. I didn't. Because all I did was listen. Which is exactly what most people need today. They need somebody to listen. They really don't need a lot of answers and suggestions. They need somebody who will listen. Y'all talking to me? Do we care enough to listen to the hurts of others? We have to always offer advice. Yet what people most need is encouragement. That woman didn't come to my office for guidance or information. She came in hope of finding someone who was available and who cared. There's a time to speak and there's a time to shut up. A time when we're able to help, and other times when we're in need of help. Is that right? Oh, I can excuse David for having trouble encouraging his troops. I can excuse him. I think Joab should have been a little more sympathetic. I realize that there are times we do have to help others when we are hurting. We extend compassion as wounded healers. But before we can help others, we've got to learn how to weep sometimes. Yeah, the word compassion means to suffer with others. The Hebrew word describes the experience of wound and pain in one's womb, implying a motherly solidarity with others. You know, compassion leads to a plan. Did you hear me? It began with an awareness of a need and results in action to alleviate a little pain. Well, in the Chronicles of Narnia, C.S. Lewis tells a story about a little boy whose mother is desperately ill. And the boy goes to Aslan, the lion who is Christ, and asks that his mother be healed. The lion began to weep, and at that very moment the boy realized that Aslan cares more about his mother than he ever did. I start to tell you today that God cares more than we are capable of carrying. You didn't hear that? I said God cares more than we are capable. Did you hear me? And we learn compassion Because the Bible said, healed a man of sorrow and a man of grief, and was tempted just like a natural man will sin. Have I got a witness? Yeah, healed, as Paul said, the Lord of compassion and the God of all comfort. He consoled us in our trouble, in God, so that we can comfort those that is in distress. Yes, Lord, what I came to tell you today in this little speech of mine is just know whatever you're going through, you're not alone. Whatever your situation is, just know that God is a God of compassion. And God, not only is He the God of compassion, He is the God of comfort. And God, yeah, I heard the old people used to sing, yeah, Jesus is on the main line. All you got to do is call Him up and tell Him what you want. Ain't God, if you want to be blessed today, learn how extend an invitation. Let me extend an invitation to be a part of the family of Jesus Christ. You're out of church, don't have a church home, have not accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. We extend this invitation to you. The door of the church is open. Now, they hear my voice, harden out your heart. He's standing at the door of your heart, knocking, and he says, you hear my voice, open up the door, and he will come in. Well, if that word bless you today, I think you receive it. Listen, we extend an invitation to you. If you're not a member of anybody's church, if you have not accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as Savior, we welcome you to become part of this church family. We welcome you. We welcome you. We're not a perfect church, but we are the church. And so we welcome you. Those of you who are watching us, thank you so much. God bless you. Let me say to all of our members, those of you who have not been to the church in some time, and I understand if you have underlying health issues, and I'm speaking specifically to those of you who have just simply got lazy and don't want to and don't feel like getting up and coming to the house of worship. We encourage you that this is the Lord's house and He's going to take care of His own. Amen. And listen, there are many of you who have not been sending in your tithes and your offerings. But listen, the church must still go on. And it can't do it. It can't do it what it needs to do without your financial support. All of you who are on Facebook and streaming us right now, please send in your tithes and your offerings so that we can meet our obligations. The bills don't stop just because church has slowed down, and we encourage you to continue or to start. We need your financial gifts. Those of you who are listening to me, who this ministry has been a blessing to, we encourage you to share with us. A financial donation of any amount will be greatly appreciated. Amen. But the church must continue to go forward. But we need every person's support, particularly our members. Amen. God bless you. Give the Lord a hand praise one more time. If you receive that message. Amen.